USANA is based on that science. And I just wanted to show you a few of the senior people that we have here at USANA working for us. We have more than 60 scientists worldwide studying products and ingredients, people with various scientific backgrounds. On this slide, we see a number of PhDs in nutrition, in biology, in biochemistry, in genetics. We are continuing to bring new scientists into our group year after year. And these people have one job. That job is to develop and provide the highest quality science-based products possible. That's what I do every single day. That's what my team does every single day. Let's look at that in a little more detail. So, here we go. We have what we call a quality equation. Right? We need to use the best materials available. We need to put those in quality balanced formulas, and we have to manufacture those in the best facilities available. Importantly, we continually improve those processes. We're always going out and looking for new, better ingredients to improve our formulas, to manufacture better. And we keep it under our control. We don't let somebody else do our business. We manufacture our tablets ourselves in Salt Lake City, and we monitor that entire process from start to finish. And I think one of the most important things is that we're not afraid to make changes when the scientific evidence changes. So let's talk more about that. Okay? How do you make a formula? So we base our formula on a number of different things. We go out and we look at the published epidemiological clinical studies. Then we back that up with in-house research. We do ingredient comparisons in-house. We look at the bioavailability of those ingredients. We do clinical evaluations. We work with other research organizations, and then we publish that data. Let's work through some of this as an example. So this is where we start. We go and we look at the evidence that's published in the literature. Let me tell you about one thing we saw years and years ago. There was a fella called Dinam Harman. He proposed a theory way back in the late 70s that there was what's called the free radical theory of aging and the free radical theory of disease progression. What he noticed is that as we age, as we develop chronic degenerative diseases, that there was an increase in oxidative stress. The theory that he proposed was that free radicals cause damage, that damage accumulated over time and caused diseases. Further, the theory went on to say that if you could prevent free radical damage, you should be able to prevent aging and those diseases from occurring. Okay? Nice theory. So, if you look at the epidemiological evidence, this is a paper that came out in 1993, just after USANA was founded. This was an epidemiological study. It looked at a large group of people, 87,000 women, followed them for 8 years, and looked at those that were taking the lowest dose of vitamin E versus versus the highest dose. Vitamin E is a very potent oil-soluble antioxidant. What they found was that those people, my clicker doesn't seem to be working, in the highest quintile, the highest dose, about 200 IUs of vitamin E per day, had a 41% lower risk of developing cardiovascular disease. So that was epidemiology. Later, there were other studies. This is one that was published in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association. Again, a very large study, about 40,000 people. This was an intervention study. So in an intervention study, you actually give them a dose. What this study found was that if you gave 300 IUs of vitamin E every day versus a placebo for 10 years, that you significantly can reduce heart attacks. So everything looked like it was following that original theory. Free radicals cause disease, antioxidants should prevent that from happening. And this would have been the end of the story just 5 years ago. Unfortunately, as we used higher and higher doses of vitamin E, this potent antioxidant, disease didn't disappear. Right? And as a matter of fact, there were some negative studies, and many people started to ask questions. This was an interesting one, the University of Berkeley Wellness Letter. And they asked, should anyone take vitamin E because of all those negative studies? Well, this was really interesting because back around 1920, vitamin E was actually discovered at Berkeley. And 80 years later, they're asking whether anybody should take it. Well, of course, that was an overreaction. Something was not right about this theory. But that doesn't mean that vitamin E, and it doesn't mean that prevention of free radical damage is not important. So what we do at USANA, what we did was not to look at one or two papers and draw some conclusion. We sit down and we look at all the available evidence. This was a review that we did just a few years ago on vitamin E. We looked at almost 120 different papers. And what we saw was that, yes, as you increase the amount of vitamin E from very low levels, from the RDA or DV levels, all the way up to about 200 IUs, that you did get beneficial results. When you got a little bit higher, when you went from 200 to 300 to 400, there wasn't much difference. There wasn't any additional benefit. But when you went to those very high doses, 600, 800, 1,000 IUs per day, you did start to see some adverse effect. So we use that evidence to set our level of vitamin E. And we think that about 200 IUs per day is really beneficial. Now this was also the first thing one of the first things anyway, that led us into changing our minds about how free radicals work and how antioxidants work. So you can't just take more and more and more external antioxidants like vitamin E and hope that's going to prevent all disease from occurring. As a matter of fact, this is what led us into the InCelligence technology. Now we're very busy on that for the past few years. But I think this was a major change in the way we thought about antioxidants. You can't just take more and more external antioxidants. You need to turn on your cells' ability to protect themselves. That's what we're doing with Intelligence. That's part of what we're doing. You just heard about a second advantage to this intelligence technology in turning on the process of renewing mitochondria. But these two things together are very, very powerful. Now, there are many other examples about things that have changed over the last several years. As a matter of fact, the science about the supplementation of calcium has changed quite a bit. You may have seen some of the headlines. This came out in the New York Times back about 4 or 5 years ago. There were some big studies where very high doses of calcium were given to women. There was a women's health study, and they didn't see beneficial effects. They started to see some problems. But this was a very high single dose of calcium alone. Now, as more and more studies were done, the increase in cardiovascular disease that was shown in those first few studies couldn't be proven. But something was odd, something was going on. And I think the problem was that they were only focusing on one ingredient, just on calcium. And it turns out that magnesium, another very important mineral, has some very good effects on overall cardiovascular disease. As the amount of magnesium was increased in many studies, we found that heart disease was reduced. And the really important thing is not the total amount, but the ratio of calcium to magnesium. These are two very important electrolytes. You need them every day. As a matter of fact, the amount of calcium and magnesium in your blood, in your plasma, is very, very tightly controlled. These are two very important electrolytes that open up channels that are probably used for signaling. And the optimal ratio of calcium to magnesium should be somewhere around 2.5 to 1. More calcium than magnesium, but not too much. You can't get outside of this ratio and still have proper function. The problem is that since the late 70s, we've increased the amount of calcium that we get in our diet more than twofold, and maybe as high as 2.5. We've fortified all kinds of foods, orange juice, for example, and many grains, many other products. So as calcium has been increasing, the amount of magnesium in our diet has actually decreased a little bit. Because of that, the ratio of calcium to magnesium has gotten out of balance. In fact, we're taking too much calcium and too little magnesium, and this has some health implications. Right? The ratio to today is way over 3 to 1. We need to rebalance that. There we go. So the total amount of magnesium is actually secondary to that ratio. As the ratio of calcium to magnesium has increased over the past 25 to 30 years, so have levels of what's called CRP, C-reactive protein, a measure of vascular inflammation. So has metabolic syndrome and other health risks. So, today, we are introducing a new product here in New Mexico, Magni-Cal-D, a product with a better balance of calcium to magnesium for a strong, healthy body. It contains a 1-to-1 ratio of calcium to magnesium. This will help you restore your overall balance from all sources, from your diet and from supplements. Importantly, the forms of calcium and magnesium are very highly bioavailable citrates and carbonates in a very nice ratio for improved absorption. And not only do we have calcium and magnesium in this product that are very important ingredients, but we have an increased amount of vitamin D. Vitamin D is absolutely essential for the absorption and utilization of these very important minerals. So this overall combination of magnesium and calcium at a 1-to-1 ratio, of vitamin D at optimal ratios, and with a little bit of silicon, is a very complete bone health product. But not only that, there we go. I went too far. This is for people of all ages. Oh, I get this. There we go. That's a little bit. So, of all ages who want strong, healthy bodies and good overall health. The ratio, again, of calcium to magnesium is 1-to-1. Very, very important. And it includes this vitamin D. So, in the past, most calcium supplements were really designed for women that were a little bit older, probably in their 40s or later. There we go. And this group still needs to take Magna-Cal-D. Very, very important ingredient, but I think it will be even more beneficial for many other people as well. As a matter of fact, even younger women can benefit from taking Magna-Cal-D. This is very, very important. The best time to build strong, healthy bones and teeth and hard tissues is when you're younger. So you can start selling this. It will also help in recovery and energy and relaxation. And not only is this good for women, but it's also good for young men who also need to be building strong bones, who need to get all the nutrition that they need every day. And importantly, this product works with Cell Essentials. It's very compatible. This is one of the best calcium magnesium supplements available anywhere in the world. It's a much better balance than what's out there. So let's go back a little bit and remember that I'm talking to you about science and how we put these products together. I'd like to concentrate on some of the other things. We've talked a little bit about some of the scientific research. What else do we do at USANA? Well, we are able to do assays on all of the raw materials that we use. We do this in our own labs, by ourselves, with our own scientists. We don't rely on somebody else to tell us if an ingredient is pure and if it's clean and if it's something we can use. We do that ourselves. Why is this important? Let me give you an example. There we go. This is a picture of grapeseed extract. Actually, 2 different grapeseed extracts. Now, when we spoke to the manufacturers of these 2 ingredients, they sent us what's called a certificate of analysis. And both manufacturers claim that their material was 90% pure proanthocyanidins. That's the antioxidant, the important ingredient in grapeseed. So if you look at these two HPLC traces that we ran in our labs, you can tell right away these two ingredients were not the same. The top trace, very sharp individual peaks. Each one of those peaks represents a different ingredient within that extract. Things like catechin, epicatechin, dimers, and trimers. Now, HPLC is very interesting because not only does it tell you what's in that, but it tells you the relative concentration. If you look at the scale on the side, in the top, it goes from 0 up to about 40 or 50. The bottom trace goes from 0 to 5. Same amount of material was shot in those HPLCs, but you can tell that the stuff in the top is there at about 10 times the concentration. So not only is it cleaner, but it's much stronger. And again, these two things had the same C of A. The top trace is what we put into our products, into proflavanol. A very, very clean, very good extract. The bottom trace has something to do with grapeseed. I think it resembles what you scrape off your feet if you walk through a vineyard. But it's not something that we're going to put into any of our products. Okay, what else are we able to do? Well, we do bioavailability studies. We bring people into our laboratory, we take their blood, we give them a supplement, we see if those ingredients get into their plasma, into their blood. We're able to do this, and not only do we do this in our labs, but then we publish that information on our website for you to see. So over the years, we've had studies on things like poly-C, on silica, on many, many other ingredients, if I can get them up here. There we go. These are available on your website. If you go to www.usana.com, under products, USANA Difference, you can get this information. So we've done that in-house. And then we take things another step. We've partnered with many third-party universities and research institutes like the Linus Pauling Institute at Oregon State University, the Australian Catholic University in Sydney, the University of Sydney, the University of Utah, the University of Colorado Health Sciences Center in Denver, Boston University Medical School, the Orthopedic Specialty Hospital in Salt Lake City, and many, many other research institutes. And then we publish this information. So this was a study that came out a few years ago on a new form of cucurbinoids, of turmeric extract, and we showed that the bioavailability was increased about 29-fold. This was a study done by USANA scientists at the University of Piedmont in Italy, and a pharmaceutical company called Indena that makes this Mariva compound. Here's another study that we did on proflavanol, looking at circulation of blood, and we showed that we can improve circulation in people that had metabolic syndrome. And this was a collaboration of USANA scientists and scientists at Boston University School of Medicine. Here's another example. We looked at the amount of vitamin D in plasma and the amount of supplemental vitamin D that you need to take to get to optimal levels. This was published a number of years ago, and it was a collaborative research study with USANA scientists and scientists at the Orthopedic Specialty Hospital. There are many, many more studies out there. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can find those again on our website. Very important to be able to do all this. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about USANA. Has anybody been to Salt Lake City for a convention? Yeah. So you may recognize this picture. Do you know what this is? No. Many people think this is the front door to USANA. It's actually just where people come in. The real front door looks much more like this. This is the loading dock. This is where materials come into our building. This is where the quality systems really start. Every time a raw material is delivered to our building, it's met by a quality assurance inspector. He takes that material, checks to make sure it's got the right paperwork, and then we bring it into a controlled area where it's clean, where there's HEPA filtered air, and you can open up every barrel of each raw material that's come into the building and make sure that it's the right material. One of the first things we do is to get an electronic picture. Right? He's using what's called an IR gun, taking an electronic picture, measuring it against a library standard to get an idea of whether or not this is the right material. Of course, that's not enough, so we take samples of every barrel, every lot of every ingredient that comes into the building. We send that over to the laboratory, and the bulk material goes out here. This is the lockup. You do not use any material that has not been fully tested. So it gets locked up here until we can do that testing. And the testing, of course, goes on in our QC laboratories. We test for potency, purity, and identity of every material to make sure it's the right material. So we do things like run GCs, HPLCs, and other tests to make sure it's the right material, the right potency, and that it doesn't have any contaminants. No heavy metals, no pesticides, no yeast, mold, or bacteria that contaminates it. And this is done on every single lot of every material that we use. It doesn't get released into the production area until it's tested. And then we do much more once we get into that production area. So we will load ingredients into a big blender. This is one of our biggest. This is a double cone blender. It holds about 2,000 kilograms total material. We can make almost 2 million tablets in one batch. What we need to know is, are we getting uniform mixing when we're making it? So what we do is called a process validation. Every product that we make has gone through a validation to make sure that it's uniform. How do we do that? Well, we run an experiment on full scale, making 1.5 million tablets in one batch, and we take samples at 10 different points throughout that production, from the beginning all the way through the middle, all the way to the end. We take those individual tablets back into our QC labs, and we make sure that the amount of ingredients is uniform throughout that entire batch. When we say, for example, that there's 50 micrograms of vitamin B12 in each tablet of Vita AO, that means every single tablet has that 50 micrograms. It's not varying all over the place. And we do this on every product so that we know that there is uniformity. And it's only after that that we actually allow that material, those tablets, to go into packaging. And in packaging, we do many more quality steps. This is a picture of our health pack machine. And along that line, we have x-rays. We take visual pictures. We We do weight control. We make sure there's no metal particles or anything that got into that package, that it's got the right configuration. We do the same sort of thing on our bottling lines. We have tablet counters, we have weight sheets, we have metal detectors. We seal every single bottle with 2 tamper-evident seals. Make sure that everything is correct, done right, done in the right amounts. And it's only after all of that that it finally goes out to our warehouse. Now, we do raw material testing to make sure that every ingredient we use is correct and the right potency and purity. We do process validation